right, it's talk time now. November the 8th was an historic day in America when Republican candidate Donald Trump, in stunning fashion, was elected the 45th president of the United States.
It was a journey fraught with so many difficulties, aggressive campaigns, negative comments, and a tight race with Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. But how did his journey to the U.S. presidency start?
Running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Wow. Well, even when the race was looking grim for him, Donald Trump was optimistic that he would win.
I am with you. I will fight for you, and I will win for you.
And indeed, he won. Right from the time of the campaigns, Trump took a tough stand on a number of issues such as illegal immigration, the Islamic State, ISIS, Muslims, among others. Let's hear him.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
Well, Donald Trump has also great plans to stamp the Islamic State out.
ISIS is making a tremendous amount of money because they have certain oil camps, right? They have certain areas of oil that they took away. They have some in Syria, some in Iraq. I would bomb the shit out of them.
S-word.
Whoa.
Apologies from us.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
he goes by his words, what would be the fate of Muslims entering the United States?
Calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
All right, with us in the studio is the former chairman, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Wale Oyekoya. He has been following this election from day one, and he has been analyzing the intricacies of this election. Well, it's good to have you join us right now.
Nice to have you.
Thanks for joining us. Obviously, I mean, you're grinning from ear to ear. You are definitely happy that Trump emerged, president-elect.
Well, what you see is what you got.
What you see is what you get. Yes,
That's
that's it.
A lot of people does not know Donald Trump.
Yes. Well, we've been talking so much about, Trump, President-elect Trump, use this language and all of that. He's a businessman, oldest, president-elect so far in the history of the United States. But what do we really know about him? I mean, you have had the opportunity of working closely with him. Tell us, some of these characteristic or traits of this man.
See, one thing that people does not realize that this man has been nursing this ambition since 80s. Not just a year and a half ago, not just 2 years ago.
That's true.
In fact, there was a time he wanted to contest for the mayor in New York City before Michael Bloomberg, another billionaire, that became the mayor in New York City. He said no. I used to work with him as a security guy there. He said, no, if you want to eat the toe, you eat the one with the fat eggs. I want the president. So another opportunity came in. That's why he doesn't want to compete with George Bush then, the junior. He said two Republicans. Since then, he's been saying that if you really want to contest in anything, it has to be through the Republican. He believed that anything goes is Republicans. So he stepped down to be the mayor then. That's why the Michael Bloomberg, you remember him?
Yes.
The man does not even know anything about politics also. He became one of the best mayor in New York City, Michael Bloomberg. So we have a lot of people like that. So a lot of people does not know Donald Trump. What he's saying is exactly he have called me so many names. They call me nigger, they call me African, nigger, all kind of stuff. But one thing he is very convinced about that if he wants something, he will go for it. He doesn't care how long it will take. Yeah, it's true that he doesn't pay tax. He believes it's the small people that pay taxes. He said, why do I have to pay taxes? To feed lazy people. He detests lazy people, let me tell you that. He believes, why do I have to be taking my tax for people that just sleep at home night and this is what he just said.
But that's surprising. I mean, Americans would say, look, you can get away with murder, but when you don't pay your tax, now that's something else. You have to go in.
Believe me honestly, there's price for everything anywhere in the world. There was a lady that was competing with her there, Leona Hemsley. She owned the same hotel very close to Trump Plaza in Manhattan. She went to jail because the same thing she said, that it's only small people that pay taxes. And they slammed her with 10 years. She served the time before she died. Leona Hemsley, I still remember her. Both of them were competing in Manhattan. They have the best of the hotels in Lower Manhattan then. So not that he's really getting away. He feels that this is what I have to pay. This is my country, I have to pay. But why do I have to be paying excess? Because I'm a rich man, because I'm a billionaire, to food the bills of Latinos, of black Americans who stay home in the morning that doesn't work.
All right, now we certainly, when you say he's a workaholic or he works hard, certainly you can't be a billionaire if you don't work hard. That's there, but some of the promises he has made, some of his campaign promises, like talking about screening or ensuring or profiling Muslims coming into the United States, building the wall at the Mexico border, and some of these issues. Now, if he is a go-getter, as in whatever I say, I will do. If he does all of those things, what kind of president is he going to be?
Let me be very honest with you. Most of the statements he made, let me call it political statements.
Okay.
By the time he really started the office, there's going to be check and balances. Donald Trump was saying all what he's saying because that is what average Americans wanted to hear. Just like what is happening in Nigeria, everybody is grumbling at this change, but if you can see somebody that can convince average Nigerian that, listen, I will take you away from this problem, things will change around. So the same thing with Donald Trump. It's exactly what the average, when you talk of real America, I'm talking white, working class Americans and the blue collar people that are working maybe in the manufacturing or in the automobile. Because you have to remember that most of the jobs have been lost to Mexicans. This is what he's trying to bring back. And if you see average American, they don't believe that Americans should be in the back seat. Americans are known to be bullied. And that is why you see him in the forefront to be bullied. I will do this, I will do that. Americans were listening. This is the kind of man we want. This is the kind of candidate we want. And you have to remember that in America is categories.
Yes.
Blacks are in the minorities. Latinos are in the minority. Women are even in the minority. They believe it's only the men, white, that are really Americans. So you can imagine Obama just come out of 8 years in the White House as a minority. Another woman, which they term to be minority again, coming, America will not take it. It might not be subjective to some people, but it's the reality. Real America, I'm talking of the people working class that pay their taxes. I'm talking of the people that can vote. Hillary Clinton have a lot of crowd. A lot of crowd, but does she really have the people that have the right to vote? That is why she misses out.
Yes.
Nigeria are shouting here, Hillary, can we vote for her? Our shouting here does not make any difference. She needs to go to the people that are registered voters that are really going to help her, especially the working class people. But she didn't do that.
Indeed. So, okay, now we could go on and on, but the real essence of this particular segment is to look at the Nigeria-US, relations under Trump.
Yes.
I recall, I think in April, early this year, he made his first official speech on, his foreign policy thrust. He talked about Asia, Russia, Africa, the Middle East, Israel and all the rest of, those parts of the world. But he really didn't say anything about Africa. And people are already concerned, does this go to show where, Africa is in his mind?
Well, one thing with Donald Trump, he believes that Africa is not a threat to Americans. He believes that we come to America to get something from them. Yes, with all this trade bilateral, definitely there's something on the ground that he cannot just change. He might be making all this noise, but when he really comes down to it, there's a little he can do because it's going to be shared by the Congress anyway, though the Republicans own both the Senate and the House right now. But at the same time, they can put him to check. And he cannot just be using the executive veto all the time. You know, so definitely not that he doesn't have any plan for Africans. It's just like a message that is sending to us that go and take care of your home. Don't just be coming for food stamps. And believe honestly, with Donald Trump coming in, it's going to straighten up so many African leaders that just believe that you can steal our money and take it to America. These are the things he said is going to help the Americans to make sure that their money stay in Africa. Not stealing your people's money and be lodging it into my country. Yeah, he said it. So not that he doesn't have any plan for. Look at the AGOA we are talking about.
Exactly.
All right. Before we go into AGOA now, because there's so much about AGOA and how it concerns Africans. Let's go on a break and then we come back to dwell more on this. Stay with us. All right, that gives you a perspective of how Nigerians are thinking. You know how they're. But let's come back to the issue here. Wale, you worked with Donald Trump on one-on-one. You know him in person, and you have said that if he says he's going for this, he's going to get it. Now let's talk about the relation between the U.S. and Africa now. How he's going to relate with countries, especially when you're talking about Africa, you're talking about Nigeria, talking about the leader countries, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, and maybe Egypt, as the case may be. But how will he relate with these countries going forward?
If you remember his speech, after he won the presidential election, said, we are going to deal with every country fairly. And any country that is trying to deal with them fairly. What he's really expecting for African nations is to really get their acts together. That don't just be coming for food stamps. Look at AGOA we are talking about before we went on break. To me, I am of the opinion that even the 8 years of Obama's in the office, what did we really benefit?
Very good question.
He was there for 8 years, not even for one day that he stepped into Nigeria, the largest black population in the world. He was in Ghana. He was in Kenya. He did in South Africa. Not even just passing by. Even when Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of the State for 4 years, he never come to Nigeria for one day. Why are we supporting it? I'm sorry, that is my own opinion. But sometimes when you see a very tough person, you might be able to excel. You might even be able to bring out your best. That is what I'm expecting from Donald Trump issue. During the AGOA, yes, which is what they call African Growth Opportunity Act. Did we even benefit from it? My answer is no. We are making like $4 million, where South Africa is making billions out of it. Most of our product we send to the America is being rejected. And most people are not even aware of this AGOA we're talking about. So if Donald Trump decided to repeal this law, so let it be. All what we need to do is to really buckle up and be able to strengthen our own homemade Nigerian goods.
And so the question is Nigeria even strong enough to make herself relevant in global politics? And in the case of America under Trump, what really should Nigerians, Nigeria's policy be towards the U.S. under Trump? What kind of engagement, should we be looking at?
I think the best engagement you have to be looking at is terms of economy, security, which I believe is going to provide anyway. Because I'm of the opinion that if it is Republican that is in government when we have all this insecurity or all this Boko Haram
to deal with,
they will have stepped in and help us out. But Democrats under Obama believe that let us negotiate. But you don't negotiate with terrorists. Let me be honest with you. They started growing wings. You understand? So under the Nigerian and American bilateral trade, it's going to be very strong. Let me be very honest with you. And with the kind of leadership we have under the Buhari regime, I bet you Buhari will be smiling wherever he is today, that he got somebody that is tough as himself, that can move the country forward. Because you have to remember what Britain did, which is what they call British exit from the EU. Now Trump is trying to exit from NATO. He's trying to exit from all these North American trade organizations. I say, what is all this? Let me strengthen my country. Let me be sure that my people are employed. Let me improve the infrastructure. That's why the fact that American infrastructure is way, way better. But he's still talking of putting more infrastructure on the ground, which is what I'm expecting our own government to be doing. Because when you keep on talking of monetary policy and fiscal policy, it's lacking. Come on, it can't work.
Now, we know that one way or the other, Donald Trump has come to say that we are carrying too many burden of different countries on our shoulders that are benefiting us nothing. And he is looking forward to countries, be independent by yourself, handle your issues here and there. We don't have to take your burden on our shoulders. But looking at things from that window, coming back to Africa, maybe even Nigeria, she asked the question, do we have the capacity to stand on our own to say, okay, our problem, we know where our problem is. Our solution should come from within us. Do we have the capacity to really dwell and handle our issues from that window?
We surely do, in the sense that we have all the natural resources. We have the human resources. Our problem is just leadership. We don't have structure on the ground. Our institution is very weak, which is what the president and the administration are trying to do. That all these weak institutions, let us really strengthen it. That way we don't have to be looking for Western countries to bail us out here and there. Believe me, honestly, if we can really tackle all our domestic issues, we'll be fine. But if we continue with all this corruption, all the money that we're supposed to use to develop our country, going to these Western countries, we will find ourselves to be blamed. Now we have the new chef in town. We are having the new police in America now that listen, go and take care of your country. Let's take care of our own. That you people have been taking from us. Let's see what we can do bilaterally in terms of business.
And you have the binational commission, you know, that Nigeria and the US.
And the US, yes.
Yes. Well, you did say, you know, you asked the question, what did Africa and specifically Nigeria gain under the Obama presidency? But I mean, when Buhari became president last year, you can see that there was some kind of improvement, you know, in Nigeria's engagement with the US, or is it Buhari and Obama, for example. Now, this newfound love, how can we sustain it in such a way that, you know, whether it is in security, economy, and all the rest of it, that Nigeria can take good advantage of this? You know, maybe even pick some vital areas where we need to engage the US, you know, seriously.
See, Donald Trump believes in details. You don't just go to the Donald Trump that you wanted to do without bringing out the details. If you see that you have the details and it's like give and take. I'm giving you this is what I'm taking, this is what I'm going to get. So if we really plan ourselves and come up with a very good plan that he feels that is going to really relieve Nigeria going to America, he will look into it. So we have to take care of our home, especially in terms of security of these communal clashes we are having, all this tribalism issue, ethnicity. We don't need all this. Look at what happened in America. 2 candidates are all from New York. They all came from New York, so they didn't say, oh, they are marginalization or whatever. The incumbent president is from Chicago, whereas Hillary Clinton also is from Chicago. They didn't say, oh, no, he just brings somebody from his backyard. So all these things, we really need to grow it. And if he can bring this on the table to Donald Trump, believe me, he will listen to it. He's the kind of person that like articulate person, that somebody that is not lazy, somebody that say, okay, we can turn the mountain to the next level.
All right, let's talk about the electoral process or electoral system generally. We have, if you make comparison between the way America has conducted its election and the way Nigeria or even African countries conduct their election, you see is a very wide difference. But when it comes to transparency, when it comes to the electorate knowing they have a projection of how this thing is going to pan out in the first place towards the end from the beginning, what do Nigerians have to learn from that? We know that we just have issues from in Ondo State, we have issues in River State. Okay,
we're told before he responds, let's take a quick break and return with more.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're still discussing the U.S. election, the fallout of the U.S. election, and precisely what Nigeria and Africa can learn from the U.S. and what we expect to gain from engaging each other. We have in the studio Prince Wale Oyekoya. He has worked with Donald Trump on one-on-one, and he knows him really well. All right, now, I was asking a question before we went on break earlier on. Now, what do we stand to learn from, or what are the things we have to go home with or pick from the U.S. electoral process so that we can better our own system? Because the system we have in here is we copied from the U.S. in the first place.
Well, but we didn't take the best part of it.
Okay, which is the best part?
The best part, we need to do away with all this money bag election, or all this, what do they call it? All this Baba Godfatherism. Look at what happened. Donald Trump doesn't have no godfather.
But being a billionaire, he could be a father by himself.
Exactly. So he doesn't have. If you see how he was able to tell off the Republican, listen, I don't need your money. I don't need your support.
In fact, he said they needed him more than he needed them.
Look at what is happening now. Now, he's now the leader of the Republican Party now. He's now the leader of American people now. So what I'm expecting our president to do is to really strengthen our electoral process. All this violence that we are seeing, we don't need it. Why can't somebody that is honest, without even saying, I have money, but I have this upstairs, to take my people away from the politics, why can't he be the next governor? Why do I have to know a godfather here and there before I could get there to really help my people? So all these things, what happened in America is like a wake-up call for all of us, especially, and I'm sure our president is watching with keen interest that what can he do to really, even if he cannot do everything that happened in America, to at least to replicate a little bit of it, to bring decency into our election. You can see that some of the election we did 4 or 5 years ago is still in the court. Any little time you lose, you go to the tribunal, you go to the court. But look at what happened. Everybody just consider, okay, I can say I'm ready to work for you. But it's not so in Nigeria. Why? Because of what they are going to achieve or what they are going to gain for going to that office. If you look at any average American, when they vie for any public office, they go there to serve their people, not because of the monetary gain. If you see most of the senators we have in US, they all have law offices. 90% of them are lawyers. That is why you see that they make a sound law that is going to benefit people in the next 50 years. So these are what I'm really expecting, not bringing tout into our National Assembly that be dictating that something that is totally out of this world. Sometimes you see them behaving and say, is this a lawmaker behaving like this? So these are what I was expecting our president to really do in our electoral process. That let us learn from the past. We learn from America. So are we using the good part of it? I will give you a scenario. There was a time a friend of mine went to US. When he came back, I said, why did you leave America? That place is good. Look at me, I just bought hamburger. I said, you brought a hamburger from America, and that make you to be a good citizen. The person is in the Abuja, I'm not going to mention him. But why is it that only the good part of it that you saw there, but you cannot even bring it to your own country? Why the burger? Say it's not your fault. If I stay there for 20 years like myself, you know what I'm talking about. You just went there, you went with your dollar, you buy about 5 cars. And you are telling me that you love America. You don't love America. You see benefiting from what I've really suffered in that country.
Exactly.
Okay, there's more, of course. Now, U.S. Republican candidate Donald Trump pulled off a shock victory in the race for the White House. The world is now wondering what his presidency would look like. TVC's Olamide Arikawe examines some of the things Trump promised to achieve in his first 100 days if he gets elected.
Firebrand billionaire Trump triumphed to become America's 45th president. Leading to the polls, he promised many things in his first 100 days in office, but there are questions about whether he can fulfill these promises. Will he build the wall on the shared border between the US and Mexico? What about immigration? What about deportations? How will he approach taxation? Trump has promised to deport more than 2 million criminal illegal immigrants straight away and threatened to cancel visas to any country that refuses to accept his people.
We want to take care and protect all of our people, including our great law-abiding, American-loving immigrants. No one has a right to immigrate to this country. It is the job of a responsible government to admit only those who expect to succeed and flourish here and really be proud of what they've done and where they came from and They have to love our country. They have to love us.
His End Illegal Immigration Act would also impose an automatic 2-year prison sentence on anyone illegally re-entering the U.S. after a previous deportation.
We need to have an honest conversation about when devising screening methods. They have to be good screening methods. They have to be methods that work. And unless we have those methods, sorry folks, you can't come into the country. Sorry.
On taxation, the president-elect promised a 35% reduction for middle-class families with 2 children and a 20% reduction in the business rate. Trump says his economic plan will move all Americans into 3 tax brackets, down from the current 7. It would also cut the corporate tax rate to 15%, which now sits at 39%.
Our business taxes are going to be brought from 35% to 15%. We're cutting regulations which are absolute. We want regulation for environmental. We want regulation for safety. But the regulations are massive, Howie. They're massive.
For foreign trade, the businessman said it would tear up trade deals, particularly the recently signed Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which lowered tariffs with 11 other nations, including Australia and Canada. It would also direct the Secretary of the Treasury to label China a currency manipulator. Trump also plans to get rid of Obamacare, the health care reform introduced by President Barack Obama, which opponents had said it's too expensive for the middle classes who do not qualify for subsidies. How will the new commander-in-chief handle terrorism? Well, he said he will recruit NATO to invade strongholds in the Middle East to knock the hell out of ISIS.
ISIS is making a tremendous amount of money because they have certain oil camps, right? They have certain areas of oil that they took away. They have some in Syria, some in Iraq. I would bomb the shit out of them.
He has regularly repeated his belief that Hillary Clinton's actions as Secretary of State allowed the terror group to grow. Whatever the outcome of Trump's electioneering promises, he has changed the political culture and the world is watching. Olamide Arikawe, TVC News.
All right, we still apologize for the use of the S word
the
in
S
there.
word.
We're supposed to have blanked that out one way or the other. Now, when he talked about the issue of screening, profiling Muslims from entering into the United States, what impact would that have in the fight against, or maybe let me say, peace in the Middle East?
See, the problem in the Middle East cannot be solved, even by him. He can only try, in the sense that if you see what happened in the Middle East, it's a war between themselves that is even emancipated by Americans or by the Western countries, because they are benefiting. Whenever there's a war, definitely somebody is selling them the ammunition. If it's not Russia, it's the Americans. So definitely they are benefiting from it. So for him coming up like that on the Muslim aspect or the ISIS, which is the ISIS, to me, it's going to raise some kind of balances that, hey, we have a new chef in town. Any Republican you see, they are for war. They are not for peace. This is no more Democrat. So you see countries like Iran, Libya, all those countries now that are really trying to causing trouble, Syria, you see how they are going to America. They know that Republicans are for war. So it's just like it's giving them a warning. That listen, you have a new chef in town. You see that you behave or we strike you.
But Trump is promising, to pull back on military and economic aid, and all of those. How is this going to affect Nigeria, especially in the war against, terror in the Northeast?
No, there are some volatile places that he cannot just withdraw everything. Definitely, there are some political statements you have to make. But by the time he got to the drawing boards where all the security personnel, all the security agents are saying, listen, we cannot go beyond this place. You have to listen to them. Okay. You can see everything outside the box, but when you get inside the box, you see where the danger is. Ball game. Where you see that danger, red, you have to back out.
All right. All right, Prince Wale Oyekoya, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we wish you well in, I guess, maybe you get invitation from Donald Trump at the end of the day.
No, I'm just waiting for my money that I bet on.